Eti Sen is how are you in the a.k.a. language of the Ashanti tribe of Ghana, but also translates into Comment allez-vous in French, Ni hao ma in Mandarin, and Till your turn for those that know. Guests and collaborators are encouraged to take a step back and to check in with self. By checking in with self, you begin to explore how you're truly feeling, be it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and of course, physically.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this time I'm actually going to give you your flowers. I'm going to remember to mention that you are the producer of our back-end track on every episode. So, yes, salutations, peace and love, manners and respect to all you beautiful beings out there. Today I'm going to go straight in and start in with a motivational quote. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down, as long as you get back up. Keep on going, because the universe will always make sure that you're prepared for whatever situation you find yourself in. You just have to dig deeper sometimes. And I've had to dig deep this week, I had a podcast ready, getting ready to edit, had a very wonderful episode with my cousin, but unfortunately there was some audio technical difficulties and I wasn't able to actually, complete the editing. But not to worry, I've got my cousin here with me, so I'm going to dive straight in. Welcome to a podcast called Eti Sen. At a podcast called Eti Sen, Eti Sen is always the first question we ask. So before I proceed, let me ask you, Eti Sen. Now that you've taken your time to, reflect on how you're feeling, allow me to introduce a very, very special guest. I mean, this is blood. This is family. I'm not talking about just the African community spirit where anyone and everyone is considered family, especially those that you're, have a close bond with. This is actually blood, So, everyone, this is Cyril.
Thank you very much.
So Cyril is my cousin, and I'm going to let Cyril introduce himself, but I'm going to ask him first. Eti Sen.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know the lingo, yeah? So, that's your Ghanaian heritage, I'm guessing, yeah?
You part. Oh, no, I know bits of it. It's one of those things I can more understand. Okay. Bits of it, if you ask me to string a sentence together, I'll be like, okay.
All right. So, Cyril said a yeah, and a yeah is I can for it is well, or all is well, or it is fine. So Cyril is doing well, he's doing fine. But we're going to dive deeper, we're going to delve deeper, and we're going to explore the 4 pillars of well-being. But before we get to that stage, I just wanted to ask, Cyril, can you tell us, or the listening audience, 3 things about yourself? It can be interesting, not so interesting, it can be factual, you can decide to make it fictional or blemish it as much as you want. So, 3 things about yourself.
3 things about myself. Oh, wow. Okay. So I guess first one, the important one is I am your cousin. We are family.
Yes.
That's really important, and I'm really, really happy to be on the show.
Pleasure's mine.
Another one, I do a bit of music production here and there as well.
Okay.
And then the last one, shout out to my work. So I work in the cybersecurity industry as well. So that's quite interesting. So yeah, three things about me there.
Okay, so thank you very much for sharing. And, as Cyril mentioned, most importantly, we're blood, we're family. Secondly, he works in cybersecurity for one of the major global firms, and also does music production. And he tried to understate the music production a bit. I don't know, maybe he will let you know his moniker or his alias when he's producing.
Stage name or
his stage name, yes. But just a bit of, trivia for you. Cyril is actually the producer of the back-end track in every single episode of a podcast called Eti Sen. So I'm so literally excited that this is really the ownership of whatever we have on this platform is actually within the family. The copyright is his, and I'm so happy that he gave me permission to use it as a backing track for our episode. So Cyril, thank you very much for granting permission. Just because you know someone is very likely to say yes, still, do it the right way and ask permission. So thank you, Cyril. And also mentioned that it's into cybersecurity. So anyone thinking about hacking my profiles or trying to do anything like that, don't worry, man. I'm covered. You get me? I can reverse that and get back at you. But yeah, so Cyril, once again, thank you very much for sharing those 3 things about yourself. It gives hopefully the listening audience a bit of a better understanding of who you are and what your interests may be. So in general, Cyril is doing very well. We'll know a bit more about himself, and we're going to go straight in and start exploring how he's feeling using the 4 pillars of well-being as a framework, to have the conversation within. So Cyril, I'm sure your wellness and well-being is something you're familiar with, and I'm sure working in, I would say, the industry that you do and working for the company that you work for, they've been pushing mental health, they've been pushing wellness and well-being, most especially in the past 2 or 3 years, as something that their employees should start paying attention to.
Yeah, definitely, and there's great resources that they have, whether that's kind of like apps that you can use or just kind of talking to people. So yeah, there's some great resources they have, and given where we are with the pandemic, there's been so much more of a focus on that kind of thing now. So yeah, it's been good. It's one of those things where, I guess, because we're in a pandemic and you've kind of got more time, you haven't got to commute, people are more happy to work longer hours.
Yeah.
And with that, there's risk that kind of you're not looking after yourself, and then you're sat still for a long period of time. The trouble that can give you, whether that's deep vein thrombosis or other ailments you can get from just being stationary so long. So it is good that there are things about, you see on some calls that people have standing desks or kind of walking around just to kind of break up the monotony. I know I'm quite bad at just kind of sitting in a chair for a long period of time, so I have to kind of force myself to get up and just do a little bit of a walk or something. But
okay, so yeah, there has been an increase, a lot more awareness and mental health and wellness in general, and finding that work-life balance. Working from home was already on the agenda of a lot of major corporations, especially in the public sector, and the pandemic pretty much just accelerated that eventuality anyway. And talking about standing desks, I actually have one. I jumped on the hype. I have one here, and that's what I use. So every now and then, I just, lift it up and stand if I have to. But it's nice to have it, but it's not as effective. You still prefer to sit, you might stand, to be honest, maybe half an hour in a day. If I'm working from home, I might choose to actually use the standing option. But yeah, at least it's an option there if you need it. I think I just need to change my working from home habits and start to condition myself to start using it more. Okay, so at least there's progress being made and an acknowledgement that performance at work has a direct correlation with our wellness and our well-being. And we'll use that as a segue. Insert soundbite here. Okay, so as we were mentioning earlier, we have a very special guest, Cyril, with us today. And we're going to be exploring how he's feeling using the 4 pillars of well-being. You know how it is. It's a podcast called Eti Sen. Eti Sen is always the first question we ask. So Cyril, we're going to start with physical, because that's what you see first. As human beings, we trust our eyes, or we're conditioned to believe everything we see. As you grow, you realize that not everything you see is true. So physically, if you were to do a self-assessment and were to ask yourself, how are you doing physically, what would be your response?
I'd say good. I wouldn't say peak, but I'd say good. I mean, I've not been as active during the lockdown as I've been outside the lockdown. So kind of in the first lockdown, I thought let's do some running because it was warmer outside and everyone was getting on the running hype. I'm not normally a runner. I need to be doing something like a sport or something where there's a bit of competition, but with running it's kind of monotonous after a while. So I did that for the first lockdown. Second lockdown, I never got back onto that with kind of the early darkness in the evenings and in the mornings as well. Kind of after work, I wasn't really feeling to go and do a run in the dark. So I've been a little less active than I probably should have. But I've still been doing some little things indoors, and heard last week that football my football team starting training, I think, at the end of March. So really looking forward to that, getting out in the field and being reactive there. So even better.
All right, that's actually good to start looking towards playing football again. So, physically you're feeling good. You wouldn't say peak. You've still been relatively active. So at home, do you have some sort of mini gym set up? Dumbbells, weights, resistance bands? Or did you jump onto this? Did you start utilizing technology more, like YouTube, Peloton, and all the new crazes that has had an opportunity to grow during this lockdown?
Yeah, no, Peloton's really expensive, isn't it? I've heard lots of people talking about it. I haven't really looked into it, but I don't think I could afford that yet. But no, so it's been bits of yoga, not as much as my partner would want me to do. I should probably do some more of that. But otherwise, it's just really been body weight stuff. No, never invested in a set of dumbbells.
I think, same with me. I've not gone running. I've spent about 4 weeks now. You got a workout
you do it with? I was saying that, have you got a workout you do?
For me, I was fortunate enough. I have a PT friend that started a 7 a.m. workout group. But once it got colder, we've not really been able to actually do any workout for almost 3 weeks now, I would say. Basically, since Valentine's weekend, so it's been about 3 weeks now since we did a workout, and I've not gone running for about a month now. It's getting warmer now, so I'm looking to start. But prior to that, it was Insanity, which was like a 25-minute or 30-minute workout, cardio, and also I do my yoga myself anyway, so I'm getting more into yoga. At the moment, I'm doing more restorative yoga. Not peak, just like yourself. I'm good. I'm trying to align my diet more towards my physical fitness and step away from too much workouts. I'm trying to let diet take a bit more focus on my diet going forward. Thank you very much for sharing. In terms of physical, I just wanted to ask one more. Is it something that you have to be conscious about, or you have a good metabolism, you're not someone that's naturally overweight? Do you have to watch what you eat, or you're just blessed like that, whereby...
Yeah, no, I'm blessed currently. I know one day it's gonna stop, and I'm gonna absolutely balloon out. But no, it's been weird. So when in my last year of uni, I started doing some boxing, and then I had to be really conscious to eat a lot just to kind of stay at weight, because that was when I would say I was at peak fitness, when I was playing football maybe like 3-4 times a week. Kind of boxing training as well, and all that exercise and all that kind of energy expenditure, I really needed to eat so much just to maintain. But since then, I haven't really gone more than 75 kilos. Really, is kind of the heaviest I've gone, and I really have to watch. So yeah, I'm quite lucky in that regards. But I guess with that, there's the opposite problem of just making sure that you do stay at a healthy weight, because you can be unhealthy at both sides of.
Yeah, exactly. There's a fine line, and as you mentioned, you have to find a good balance, because you can be unhealthy on both sides of the spectrum. You can have too much of an unhealthy focus, and I don't know, is it body dysmorphia or something? I can't remember if that was the exact word. But when you have some body image issues on either end of the spectrum, either you're actually healthy looking, but you feel as if you need to be an ideal weight, and you end up tipping the scales towards unhealthy. It gets like that sometimes. So thank you very much for sharing the physical. I want us to then move from physical and start, talking about your mental health. You already mentioned earlier that in terms of work and having that work-life balance, there's been more of an awareness and more of an acknowledgement that there is a relationship between that. But once again, if you were to do a self-assessment and ask yourself the question, what would be your response?
So mental well-being, again, it changes based on the day you ask, right?
Very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, but today, I'm good. It's sunny outside, and I know there's the classic trope of British people always talking about the weather, but it does make a lot of difference.
It does.
In your mood when it's sunny outside, and it's the weekend. I'm doing okay mentally, I think, at the moment.
Okay, you mentioned a very important point, that mood changes daily, especially how you're feeling mentally as well. There are external factors that can affect your mood. For most people, it is easy to be influenced externally, and what the whole purpose or the mission is for you to have a bit of control over how you respond. Can't really do too much about what happens out there. About what you can do is how you respond. So yeah, Cyril has a positive outlook, has an awareness that it's something that changes on a daily basis, can even change on an hourly basis or even less than that. But you just have to acknowledge it. You just have to accept what the situation is and actually find a way of coping with it. So Cyril, for yourself, do you have any coping strategies if things are not going too well, and if things are going very well? Do you allow yourself to be in the moment, or do you start looking into the future and, being pessimistic and thinking, oh, this is not going to last? Do you have any things you do just to keep a healthy mental and also to have a good balance or have good mental health?
Yeah, so I'll definitely say I'm more on the optimist, realist/optimist, a kind of combination of the both. So I wouldn't say I'm unduly pessimistic. In terms of if things aren't going so well, sometimes it's just kind of recalibrating yourself, and whether that's just doing things like breathing exercises I find quite useful. I'm just kind of deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth, just kind of letting it go through and come out helps sometimes. But yeah, it's a weird one because I guess it depends on the situation. There's some situations where I have got control to change it.
Yeah.
But there's some that don't, and it's part of it is knowing if you do have the ability to control the situation and doing something about it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the ability to control the situation, then not stressing about trying to change the situation, because that stressing isn't helping you. You're adding more stress to an already bad situation. About something you can do, like I normally say, if there's something going wrong and you can do something about it, do it. But if you can't do something about it, don't spend your time worrying about the fact that you can't do something about it, because
yeah, that's deep. Yeah,
I mean, it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah, it is. That's the beauty of it. Acknowledging that it's easier said than done is very healthy, actually. So you don't stress about it, because most things that we do is subconscious. Our responses, our reactions is subconscious. What growth is about becoming more aware, understanding your micro behaviors, your triggers, even when you're thinking a certain way, not necessarily wanting to change it, but just being present and aware in that moment that, wow, this is how I'm thinking, and it's unhealthy, it's healthy, I need to do something about it, I can't. Just assessing all of these things and just making a decision later on.
Yeah.
So it's very important that if you can do something about it, as Cyril said, do it. But if you can't, don't stress or worry about the fact that you can't do anything about it. And with a disclaimer, it's easier said than done, so you know what you're in for. Cyril also gave a good illustration of mindfulness. He mentioned using breathing techniques and breathing exercises, taking deep breaths in and exhaling out through your mouth whenever you're realizing that, okay, things are getting a bit on top, again, a bit over the top. These techniques is all about being aware that A, this is how I'm feeling at the moment, B, this is what I can do about it, and C, doing it. It's easier to be in your head and thinking about all of these things and never actually getting down to it. 1 minute of mindfulness is powerful. If you can do it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it's very, very useful and actually help relieve a lot of tension, a lot of stress. We'll get into mindfulness later on. I'm looking to jump on stereo and do a few shows with people that are also on stereo, and we'll go through some mindfulness and also laughter yoga. We'll be doing some laughter yoga later on. So we're working on things that we can also do apart from the podcast that will help with wellness and well-being. And mindfulness and laughter yoga is something that we're going to be exploring in the near future. So Cyril, thank you very much for the example you gave when dealing with stress and when things are not going too good. So we're going to segue and move into emotional well-being. Cyril is doing good when it comes to physical, mental, depending on the day, but knows how to deal with things when things are not going too good, and knows how to be in the moment and enjoy when things are going well. So how would you, once again, if you were to do a self-assessment, ask yourself the question, how am I feeling emotionally? What would your response be?
So again, I'd say I'm pretty level emotionally. Obviously, I'm really happy that I'm speaking with you, but I'm not one of the people who gets overly emotional about things.
Yeah.
And so I was actually having this discussion with my partner in the last week. We're just talking about listening to music or kind of watching TV and kind of triggers there that can make you like start feeling emotional, make you start crying. And I was like, I don't remember the last time kind of watching a TV show has made me actually like physically cry.
Whoa!
She was like, "Are you okay?"
I'm the opposite. My bust like 3-4 cries in the movie. Like. I'll try not to wipe the tear away. I'll just be like, nah, it's just water coming from my eyes. I'm not crying. Okay, so you're quite...
I'm not crying, you are.
So are you quite guarded, or just how you were? Is it previous life experiences? Is it early childhood? Is it just not being able to express yourself emotionally?
Yeah, so I think, part of it is early childhood. So I didn't live in one country for more than 3 years at a time. It was, the journey from Ghana to kind of the UK, back to Ghana to come to Ireland. So as part of that, you're always constantly making new friends. And when you're constantly putting yourself into kind of new situations like that, you almost have to take a step back, be a bit reserved, and kind of ascertain the situation. So I think it's made me reserved, which is weird because I went to stage school for a bit. So you don't generally think of people being kind of like shy, reserved, but also like acting and kind of like performing. So it's weird. I find with kind of the performing, it's in front of a crowd, and you can almost, the crowd just becomes a kind of an ocean. It's not one person, and it's a bit easier, but when it's kind of one-on-one, it kind of it's a bit
all right. So Cyril's been very honest, and that's what we like on this show. He's admitted to the fact that he's, I wouldn't use the word guarded, but when it comes to being sensitive to certain things, especially in movies that are edited in a way to trigger certain emotional reactions, and I always fall for it. I'm a sucker for a good story, for making it through to the end and being successful. I will have a tear in my eye. I will own it right now. But Cyril admitted that he's quite the opposite, and has taken some time to try and understand why that's the case, because of conversations with his partner, and realizing that yes, early childhood, not being stable in one country for X amount of years and moving around relatively in a short period of time, he had to find a way of not being too invested in the new friendships and the new connections he was making, because always in the back of his head he was thinking we're very likely to move again, and can't really, sometimes that has an impact on you as a child. But as he's growing and evolving and becoming a different person, and he's opening up now more, and we're having this conversation. So that is progress in my opinion. So thank you very much for your honesty, Cyril. Thank you very much for sharing. I think emotional well-being for me is one of the ones that is always, I wouldn't say undervalued, but it's taken for granted, because when you say someone is emotional, normally there's some sort of negative stigma, and mental health in general anyway. But I think there's a spectrum with most things, and most, or what you call normal human beings, or normal Homo sapiens are within a range, and then there's those that are on the extreme ends of those spectrum, and sometimes we have to also make room for everyone on the spectrum, not on what we define as normal, which actually it's a very fluid word. What is normal? But that's another topic, another conversation for a different type of podcast. But I'm conscious of time. This is the first time I've had to be conscious of time, actually. So I forgot that this is actually a podcast, not just a conversation we're having. So we're going to move into spiritual health, talking about mental, physical, emotional. How do you assess your spiritual health? And just to emphasize, for me, spirituality doesn't necessarily mean being religious, but most people within my circle will put spirituality and being religious in the same bracket. But yes, so Cyril, how are you feeling spiritually?
So again, quite good. So I guess that kind of the main way that I'm expressing my spirituality, religion, is through kind of online church at the moment. So with lockdown and not meeting them people. I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, right? But with kind of the online, I feel like it's a bit easier to get into for people that are used to it, and it's a bit less of having to kind of get up and go to a building and do it, but you are missing some of the community with it that you get when you're actually in the building with people. Overall, I'd say it's one of those things that you kind of, when you grow up, you're very influenced with kind of what your parents believe or kind of what your friends believe. So I've had to take time and kind of find for myself, what are my values, what do I believe in. There'll be some influences from there, but there'll be influences from other parts of my life. But yeah, naturally, I feel like I'm happy with where I am.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you very much once again for sharing, Cyril. Of all the pillars that we explore and we use as a framework on this podcast, I think spirituality is the one that normally has a private do not disturb, trespassers beware, because it's one of those ones that a lot of people can be protective over. It's your relationship with God, it's your relationship with a supreme being. And Cyril mentioned an important point. Most of us are brought up in a certain environment, be it traditional family environment, mixed, single parent, whatever family dynamic you're in. You pick up your spirituality or your religious belief in that family dynamic and in that family setting first, before you start to find out for yourself what your principles are. You learn these things first. Cyril mentioned you have to go through some sort of unlearning. You have to unlearn to relearn and hopefully understand what your misinformation, disinformation was. It's a process.
It's got to be your journey, right? It can't be your parents' journey, it can't be your friend's journey. It's very unique spirituality. It's your inner being, right? It's got to be personal to you, whatever your beliefs are. So
yeah, just to repeat, it's got to be personal to you, whatever your beliefs are. It has to be unique, and it is your journey. You're making this journey in life. You're going to come across so many people, some that are going to resonate with you, some that won't, some that are there to help you learn certain lessons in life, some that are there to help you grow and evolve. But at the end of the day, when it's time to exit this plane of existence into the next, it's just going to be you. There's going to be no one else around. So whilst you're here, have that in mind and just do what's best for you. So this has been take 2 of a podcast called Eti Sen with Cyril. But before I let Cyril go, I normally ask as the last if you have any sort of advice. Maybe advice is too strong a word. Any lessons that you have learned in your life that you would like to share with the listening audience that you think may be beneficial to them as they also walk through this journey of life?
Yeah, so I said this is take 2, right? And I shared a piece last time. I haven't really thought on this since then, so I'll share what I shared last time as well. But it's really about trusting your instincts, not allowing yourself to get overwhelmed by the amount of decisions that are available. Analysis paralysis, I think it is what it's called, when you've got so many options in front of you, and that's almost stopping you from making the decision, and then you might put off making the decision, you start procrastinating. But really just trust your instincts and your gut feeling, because that will evolve as you evolve, and you might get it wrong, but then that's a learning experience, and the next time you won't get it wrong. But if you don't make the decision, you're never gonna go anywhere. So that's my I think I said it more eloquently last time, but
Nah, not to worry, man. It was very eloquent this time as well. So as Cyril mentioned, analysis paralysis. When it comes to decision making, not being overwhelmed, trusting your gut feeling, intuition. It doesn't lie. Energy doesn't lie. You know, sometimes you meet someone that you've never met in your life, but as soon as you meet them, you're like, I don't like this person, or I vibes with the person, I get along with this person. That's energy. 99% of the time, it's going to be right. Sometimes it's not, but most times it is. So trust your intuition, trust your gut feeling. Understand that when you're making a decision, sometimes the first one that you thought about There's a reason why it was the first thing you thought about, because it's probably the most likely to work. I'm emotional right now. So I'm excited because we've been able to do this again in a very short period of time. It's been a pleasure to have you join in this podcast, Cyril. Thank you very much for joining us on a podcast called Eti Sen. Eti Sen is always the first question we ask. So before I let you guys go, Cyril, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Eti Sen.
Jeez, you already know the levels. Oh my days. Yes. All right. So it's been a pleasure. You know how we do. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And we're out.